Hey everybody, this is Tom with The Board Gamer. Today's video is sponsored by Ghostfire Gaming. If you are interested in zombifying your friends, check out the link in the description to pick up your copy of Fight the Blight. And don't forget about the expansion pack containing Dark Past and Doom Futures for even more ways to fight for your survival and strike against your foes. Now let's get into it. Fight the Blight is a 2 to 6 player game for ages 13 and up with an average gameplay length of 15 to 30 minutes, published by Ghostfire Gaming. The basic overview of Fight the Blight has each player fighting to be the last human alive. To do this, you will place skull cards in front of your opponents until they surpass the infection limit. Once a player is equal to or passes the limit, they will become a zombie and continue the game by spreading the infection. But beware, they can revive themselves by zombifying the player with a golden chalice. To set up the game, place the game board in the middle of the table. Have each player choose a character card and place it human side up in front of them, and collect a reference card if desired. Shuffle and deal one festering card to each player. Next, shuffle the death deck and place it on the game board. If this is your first game, shuffle the blight cards into the main deck and deal 5 cards to each player. If a blight card is dealt, shuffle it back into the deck and draw a new card. Place the main deck face down on the game board. Place the golden chalice near the game board, as well as the zombified/revival cards, and let everyone know what the infection limit is. In this 3-player rules guide, it will be 7 skulls. Now the player with the best zombie impression will start the game.
Brains! He bit me! Oh yeah, I bite Mike one time and oh, zombie this, zombie that.
On each player's turn, they must take a total of 3 actions. The action options consist of playing a card from your hand, drawing a card from the main deck, and replenishing an exhausted card in front of you. Your character cards sometimes offer you a free action that can be taken once per turn. Another free action would be exhausting a card in front of you. Let's look at the play a card action. Your hand throughout the game will consist of 3 types of cards. You will have red attack cards. Some of these cards will have skulls on the bottom left. You will play these in front of another player to raise their infection limit and bring them closer to becoming a zombie. Red cards that do not have any skulls act as action cards and are played, resolved, and then discarded. Another card that is played, resolved, and discarded are the blue utility cards. These cards are usually ones that help remove skulls from in front of you or another player. One card type that you will want to play in front of you are the purple defense cards. These cards either have a passive ability or need to be exhausted to use. You are only allowed a maximum of 3 purple cards in front of you. They can be replaced by discarding one already in play, but you can never have multiple copies of the same card. The draw card action is pretty simple. You draw a card from the main deck. However, mixed into the main deck are blight cards. They have the same back as the other cards except for the white eyes. This is so every player knows when they come up. If you decide to draw the blight card, you will reveal it immediately. The blight card will have you draw a black death card from the death deck. These cards are generally bad and are played immediately when drawn and do not count as an action. And finally, to replenish an exhausted card, you will turn it upright again. This will usually happen to purple defense cards, and this is the only way to reuse their ability. Let's fast forward through a couple rounds and see what happens when a player turns into a zombie. Playing this skull card on this player will turn that player into a zombie. Now we follow the zombified reference card. Start by having the player who is being zombified flip over their festering card that was dealt to them at the beginning of the game. The player who zombified them is granted what is revealed. Next, the zombified player will flip over their character card to the zombie side, and they can no longer win the game unless they revive themselves. And finally, place the golden chalice in front of a human player with the least skulls in front of them. If tied, the active player decides between the tied players. A couple of things to note. If the non-active player becomes a zombie, the active player is credited. But if the active player zombifies themselves, the golden chalice will still move like normal, but the festering card will not activate. Now, the human players will try to make the other players zombies, but the zombie players, provided there is still more than one human, should attempt to zombify the player with the golden chalice to revive themselves. If successful, they will follow the revival side of the reference card. First, they will flip their character card back to the human side. Next, they will discard all red cards in front of them. If they still have over the infection limit of skulls in the black death cards, they will also discard all the black cards as well. Continue this back and forth until there is only one human player and the rest of the players are zombies. Once that happens, the last remaining human player wins the game. And that is how you play Fight the Blight with 3 to 6 players. If playing with only 2 players, the rules change slightly. During setup, you will remove the Cure card from the Death deck, as well as the Golden Chalice from play. The starting player will also begin the game with a nibble in front of them. In order to win the game, the player will zombify the other by giving them 6 or more skulls. Once zombified, they will flip their character card over and discard all red cards in front of them. Now they will need another 6 or more skulls in front of them in their zombie state to eliminate them. The first player eliminated this way loses and the other player wins. For extra variety, you can add the Dark Past and or the Doomed Future expansion. The game plays the same. The only difference is when adding the expansions, you will add 3 Blight cards to the main deck per expansion used and add all the other cards to their appropriate decks. Death cards to the Death deck and all main cards to the main deck. Not to mention, you'll have more characters to choose from with all new abilities. And that is how you play Fight the Blight.
Hey everybody, please like and subscribe. You don't want to end up like Mike here. Well, I will say, Mike is delicious.